Hi. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I want to talk this week about substance abuse and prescription drugs. Chapter 8 of our text, the Straub text, is on substance abuse, and Straub focuses on alcohol and nicotine in particular, and there really wasn't any mention on prescription drugs. And I'll be honest with you, I think prescription drugs is a bigger problem today than alcohol or nicotine. So I want to cover that topic. If you go to the library and get into one of the databases, you'll find there's a lot of research articles on substance abuse and prescription drugs. In other words, there's a lot of people paying attention to this. Maxwell goes so far, and Maxwell wasn't the only one, it's just an example, but Maxwell, as a researcher, describes the addiction to prescription drugs as epidemic in the United States. Um, some of the contributing factors, number one, the pharmaceuticals have aggressive marketing strategies, and I'll talk more about that here shortly. There's also incorrect practices in prescribing and over prescribing, which I think is also related to these marketing strategies. And then certainly there's a variety of drug sources. Prescription drugs can be purchased both legally and illegally. There's belated government responses, which that's uh, not uncommon today, and an increase in the number of prescriptions that are written. The pharmaceuticals really have an aggressive marketing campaign. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you watched TV, any show on any channel, and did not see a drug commercial? I mean, it seems to me some programming is all drug commercials. It's prolific, the advertising money spent here. Um, Oxycontin and other prescription painkillers have been described as um, really a more common path to addiction and to the use of heroin and heroin addiction. Kluger tells a story and describes it as kind of a typical, one typical path to addiction. But this story was about a teenage boy who contracted cancer at age 13 and went into cancer treatment, and this treatment was painful, so painkillers were prescribed, and finally, after 4 years, by the time the teen's 17, the cancer is in remission, but the teen's now addicted to the painkillers, and so the teen moved from the painkiller addiction into heroin addiction. And what was kind of odd in the Kluger story, the teen's mother was telling the story that she hated to admit that she actually longed for the days when her son had cancer, because that was a better memory than trying to deal with her son as a heroin addict. There's a lot of statistics on addiction to prescription drugs. Prescriptions for opioids and painkillers increased by a factor of 10 between 1990 and 2010. That's a lot. Just for example, in 1 month in 2007, there was 3.7 million people filled legal prescriptions for painkillers, and during that same month, 5.2 million actually used prescription painkillers for non-medical reasons, so that's recreational use. The figures for overdoses are high as well. There were 6,000 overdose deaths in 1990 and over 27,000 in 2007. The Office of National Drug Control Policy reported a 20% increase in deaths since 2006. Kluger also describes that part of the problem is that there are what he calls pain clinics that exist nationwide, and these are legal places of business that specialize in treating people with chronic pain, and of course, their primary treatment is prescription painkillers, and this helps to get a much higher rate of prescription drugs into everyday use. Uh, there's also a lot of non-medical use of prescription drugs. Prescription drugs are available on the street illegally. It is also reported that teenagers falsely believe that taking painkillers can provide them with a medically safe high, which is not true. They're minimizing risks. Um, and many teenagers can get prescription painkillers free from family and friends, so that's why it's almost a first choice. The research has also reported that teenage girls were more likely to abuse prescription painkillers than boys. Kaplan reported the indicators of excessive use of prescription drugs were mood swings, anxiety, depression, agitation, difficulty sleeping, isolation, a loss of interest in relationships with family and friends. The indicators of addiction, the list of this was number one, a past history of addiction. This would be addictive behavior. It doesn't have to be just drugs. Using prescription drugs that were prescribed for someone else. Visits to the doctor with vague complaints in an effort to get more prescriptions. Mood swings, seeing several different doctors, using different pharmacies so the pharmacist is not tracking their use of prescription drugs. Using more medication than what was recommended by the physician, using medication for reasons other than what was prescribed by the physician, not interested in treatment options other than medication, and even hospital visits. Um, Pharmaceuticals have a very aggressive marketing strategy, which is easy to see on TV, actually, even in magazines. They spend a tremendous amount of money on marketing. They also tend to focus on profitable drugs, and this has led to shortages in the database. If you look this up, you'll see there's been a lot of shortages, some of critical drugs like drugs used in the treatment of cancer that have literally put people on a waiting list to be treated. Bakken in 2005 in his book calls it a pathological pursuit of profit, and even uses pharmaceutical as a case study. The pharmaceutical industry has lobby. The government lobby spends over $250 million a year to influence government and is highly successful. One example of this success is in the Trans-Pacific Partnership that President Obama is working on. The United States is advocating to protect the high prices of prescription drugs worldwide. So rather than bring prices down, they're trying to keep prices high, and this includes other countries, and certainly it's a reflection of the pharmaceutical lobby. In conclusion, I would say that pharmaceuticals companies pursue profit over social responsibility. That seems to be fairly clear. There's quite a few people that would state that much stronger than what I just did. It seems to me kind of ironic. We're at a time when there are several states that are passing laws to legalize the use of marijuana, so the federal government's focus is really on marijuana, and this is what the press has picked up on. And while they're focusing on marijuana, really the number one addiction problem is prescription drugs, and it seems to be, in addition, the number one path to addiction and to addiction to illegal drugs like heroin. It seems that the dialogue should be on prescription drugs and the role that pharmaceuticals play in this, instead of all this attention right now, which is on marijuana, and the states. That'll play out in the states as to whether that's a good decision or not a good decision. I have a list of the references I've used in what I've covered here, and you'll find this list in the transcript that I posted online. Thank you.